still amaze me? Wouldn't it be crazy? Would you still amaze me? Wouldn't it be crazy? Would you still amaze me? Wouldn't it be crazy? Would you still amaze me? If I find my way home, yeah. If I find my way home, yeah. Wouldn't it be crazy? Would you still amaze me? Wouldn't it be crazy? Would you still amaze me? Wouldn't it be crazy? Would you still amaze me? Wouldn't it be crazy? Would you still amaze me? If I find my way home, yeah.
This is the movement for those who.
What we do here is go back.
Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
To see what's behind these closed doors, but I promise you, babe, I'll always be
What's going on, guys? Welcome back. It's Monday, you guys. We made it through a weekend, right? Sucks. Mondays suck because the sign says so. That's why. Just go with that. All right. So hey, welcome to the Child of Mecha live stream. I am Tim, the one and only Child of Mecha, and on tonight's stream, we're going to take a look at a new book that I got today. Very excited about this one. If you saw my post earlier today, you probably already know what I'm going to be talking about. But man, it's so good, you guys. I can't wait to show you this one because I'm excited about this one. We're going to do some work on the back skirts. If you saw the 30-minute post, you'll see kind of what we're going to do. But first, let's take care of a little bit of business, shall we? Number one, first and foremost, please donate to the Gunpla Talk fundraiser / giveaway. One lucky donor will win an amazing, perfect grade Ashtray red frame. 6 more will win the little resin busts from our friend Paint Pusher, Win I'm On. And then also, our very own Ace Schultz Berkanatir over there on Facebook has been nice enough to offer to donate some prizes as well. So we're going to wait and kind of see what those are, but expect some more prizes to be given away to kind of add to the list of growing prizes, which is awesome. So big shout outs to to Berkana / Ace Schultz over here on YouTube and everything. So, man, if you haven't entered, please do so. It goes to a great cause, the National Alopecia Areata Foundation. We are going to keep this open for 1 more month. The original idea was to cut it off after 2. We're going to keep it going for another one just because we've gotten more prizes to give away. We want people to have the opportunity to enter if they haven't done so already. So we're going to keep it going for 1 more month, raise a little bit more money for National Alopecia Areata Foundation, and give people an opportunity to win some really, really cool prizes, right? So if you haven't entered, go do it. It feels good. Just makes you feel good. You've done something great for humanity, right? So tonight, man, I'm rocking an Olds t-shirt. This is like one of the original t-shirts that I got, the new type t-shirt that I made back when I first started the store and everything. So this is, man, it feels old. This is like the old style t-shirts that I used to have. But man, if you want still have the new type shirts in there. If you want to get yours, just hit up childofmecha.com, hit the store up at the top. You will be transported to the store where you'll see a plethora, if you will, a cornucopia even, of shirts and hats and bags and soon-to-be pillows and stuff like that. So that's really a cool place to get some cool Gundam swag if you want to. And if you see any of the tools that we are working with tonight, and also the book, hit up the little Amazon link down at the bottom here, and nope, that side, on there in the description on Facebook. So there's an Amazon link. You can hit that up. You can see all the tools. You can see the books to get some really cool inspiration for your next project. You can also see some of the streaming gear that we use to make both the Child of Mecha live stream and Gunpla Talk as well. So hit all that up. That's all good stuff. So without any further ado, let's take a look at the book for tonight's selection. Bang. Wow. Just got this in the mail today. Nothing but Mech 4 by Design Studio Press, one of my favorite publishing houses. They make just a wide variety of great books. And I'm going to tell you what, this one, they knocked out of the park. Hands down. They absolute grand slam, bottom of the 9th to win it all, World Series. This is the one. Hands down, plain and simple. This book has 185 gloriously packed pages of amazing conceptual mechanized art. That is actually up from 150 pages on volume 3 and up even more from volumes 1 and 2, which were only 125 pages. So this right here is the biggest out of all of the Nothing But Mech books, and it is so good. So let's crack this sucker open. Like I said, I just got this in the mail today, and I've already kind of thumbed through this 3 or 4 times just between then and now. It's great. It is really, really great, and you will see here momentarily why I say that. The design of this book is a little bit different from previous books, to where they had the artist biographies and info and stuff like that in the back. They actually have these kind of sectioned off alphabetically. So these are the A's, if you will, and they go alphabetical by first name, obviously, and they give, excuse me, they give websites and things like that. A lot of these guys are on artstation.com. That's kind of their main portfolio that they use, I guess, and gives you a little bit about them and some other information. But man, just this book is amazing. I mean, first image, look at this. Try to get the glare off of there. I mean, tell me that's not just kick-ass and cool looking. I mean, what better way to start off a book than a mechanized skeleton shooting a BFG, right? I don't know a better way to start off an art book. I really don't. Then you got some really cool, I don't even know what that is. It's like a robot wearing a jacket, I guess, right? Really cool. You've got some different characters over here that are heavily mechanized. This is, you know, I guess like an exosuit or whatever. There's a full robot with like a katana and a winter parka. Kind of cool, yeah? Let's see, what else here? There's another shot of that same robot. And, man, it just gets better from there. They've got some mechanized kind of tank things here. The glare, I know, is a little harsh tonight, guys, so I apologize to that. I will try my best to hold this at an angle to minimize that glare for you guys. But, man, this is just so cool here. The cool kick-ass camo action going on. Yeah, just really awesome stuff there. Then you got this crazy looking mechanized scorpion deal here. Like straight up Bayformer feel. This is called the Death Stalker. I know it's hard, that type is hard for you to read, but it's there. This is this says it was inspired by Vitaly Bulgarov, which is Vitaly Bulgarov's an awesome artist, you guys. If you don't follow him on like Instagram and stuff, you're missing out. You big time are missing out. Some more really cool, interesting looking suit things. And man, okay, so here's where it starts to get serious. Bipedal, kind of mechanized, shooty things. I don't know how to describe them better than that, man. But the level of detail in these are just really, really cool. So again, here are the bees. You got even some wicked ass car concepts. I mean, look at this. This is like an updated Back to the Future style concept, which is just really cool. If I was Marty McFly, I'd whip this thing around everywhere, man. Super cool. And here's one of my favorites in this book. Let's see if we can get the glare off. The mechanical detail in this. You can see minus molds over here. You can see, you know, reinforcement structure. You can see all sorts of different things, panel lines, and all that good detail here. You know, reinforcement kind of rack systems here. Just super cool. Pistons and gears and all sorts of mechanical just deliciousness, right? You can just sink your teeth into it. It's so yummy. And then you got some really cool types of things here. This is kind of a little bit more whimsical design, and there's not a lot of whimsy in this version. There were there was a good amount of it in the first 3 volumes, but man, this one is just kind of straight up hard surface style renderings and concepts and stuff. This is pretty cool. Little, I don't know, weapons, bipedal weapons system here. Very cool mechanized arm. It's really great miniature detail in this one. Different robots. And you kind of got some drones and things here, really cool. This is a nice one by Furio Tedeschi. He's also another good one to follow on like Instagram and ArtStation and stuff like that. Great artist, one of my favorites. He did this kind of kick-ass rendering of a mechanized Batman. I know that's hard, especially since it's on right on the seam there, but trust me, pretty damn cool. And then you've got these just really kick-ass ship renderings here from they're from the front cover here. These are cover arts, and man, you just look at this and you can see all of the great detail and things like that. And even when it comes down to like the decals and stuff, I mean, this is the Jolly Roger right there from Skull Squadron from Macross. So I mean, that looks exactly like it. Exactly like it. And man, just super cool there. That's by Gerald Blaze. And so is this one. It's kind of hover bike sort of thing. Really awesome. Kind of got a I don't know, like a Wally meets Ava style thingy. I don't know. And different other mechs and stuff here. This is so good. This is wild. Kind of a weird camouflage kind of head. I don't know, head covering. I don't even know what to even call that, you guys. And then obviously one of my favorites, Ian McHugh, with his kind of loosey-goosey art style. Just so good. Oops, we missed a couple here. Damn it. Okay. And then you've got this really cool, interesting model here, the Robert. Just, you know, kind of a comical type of looking robot. And let's see, different environments and stuff here. This is a much darker picture, but and it's probably hard to see on camera, but you've got a couple knights here. And you've got this mech kind of adorned in heraldry and kind of armor and stuff like that. It's almost like I don't know, it's almost like Gundam meets, you know, King Arthur almost. It's crazy. It's a cool concept. I dig it. And then this is really cool. These are hunter-killer mechs right here. And this is just like a maintenance bay, and you see the little, you know, a couple soldiers here, some maintenance techs being lifted in on this overhead crane here. Let's try to get the glare off of that so you guys can see that. There you go. That is probably one of my favorites in this book, simply because just of the environment and, you know, everything kind of just going on. It's very familiar to what we see in Gundam and Macross, and Bailey says Robotech. Nice one, Bailey. I appreciate that. And then here's the Ironclad by Justin Fields. Very Moose feeling from Chappie. Let's get the glare off of there. Very cool. Ed 209 sort of feel as well. Different styles of art. Here's some really cool looking, another kind of bipedal mech. This one has kind of arms and stuff. This one's called the Predator. Here's one, looks like it's called the Villain. Very interesting stuff, very mechanical looking. Love that. You know what? I know this is kind of, this is very, this kind of harkens back to those 80s books that we used to read back in the day, and the school library and everything. But man, there's something about the nostalgia of this particular piece of art that I just like it. It's really cool. It's pure nostalgia, and I think that's so freaking cool. And a few of the other ones here, nostalgia, and then you've got a couple here by our good friend Luca Zampriello. You've got the Briegel. Which one? One of these, I forget which one. It's just the Briegel, and then you have the Abacan, and some other. Oh, wait, this is the one. This is the Briegel. That's the Abacan, and then you've got one I've never seen this before. This is called Schnabelgeist, and tell me that doesn't look like a Schnabel gun meets freaking Deep Striker. I mean, how cool is that? I mean, it's just, I don't even know where to start, to be honest with you. And he even references the Deep Striker and Gundam Sentinel in the description and everything here. Just, man, super cool. I mean, for that alone, I think this book is worth it. But man, this book is so much better than the previous three versions. And the previous three versions were really good too. So you can tell kind of how good this one is. Funny. Different kind of Russian-inspired mechs and things there. I do respect this whimsical little rendering here. I think it's pretty cool. Different car concepts and things. Very neat. This one I really like. This is like a deck of an aircraft carrier. You've got a mech. You've got two workmen kind of offloading something from what it looks like. Very cool concept there. You use that on like a diorama or something like that. Maybe have one of your GMs or something like that on the deck of a aircraft carrier or something. That'd be kind of cool. This is all good stuff in here, you guys. That's wild. That one is by Pat Presley. Man, just menacing looking. Let's get the glare off that so you guys can see that a little bit better. Just super cool. Super cool. It's an interesting concept there. And you can just take so much from all of these renderings. One of my favorites, Robert Chu, this is a series that he's done, and basically what he's done is take real life animals and kind of mechanize them. And this is kind of like an albatross, but it flies for NASA, and obviously it's flying over an ice field, probably, gathering ice data or something. I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing it out there, right? But I love Robert Chu's work. One of the best. Some really interesting color combinations and all of these little renderings here. Just like a family of mechs. Just all different shapes, all different sizes, different color schemes. Just really cool. We're getting closer to the end here. Some neat soldier mechs and stuff like that. Very cool. And then you have all your artists' pictures and things like that to better know who they are. And then, just the end pages and stuff like that. So, man, you guys. And this, like I said, this book, look how thick that book is. This book is This book is nice, and it's under $20 right now on Amazon. It's a steal, absolute steal. I think it was like 19 and some change right now on Amazon on Prime. So yeah, go pick it up. I was lucky enough to get this for $17 through the pre-order system, their lowest price guarantee. So it hit 17 and some change. So I actually got this for $17. Call me lucky, I don't know. But wow, I'm so impressed with this book. And this is, from what I've read, Lauren Wood is obviously one of the biggest contributors on there, but he's kind of the man behind these books. And from what I've read on his postings, this is the last in the Nothing But Mech series, and that all profits from these books actually go to charity, and I didn't know that. So, I mean, not only do you get a kick-ass book series, you're kind of doing something cool for charity, too, at the same time. So it's like a win-win for everybody, right? So, man, go pick this up. This is definitely on my list of books in the Amazon link below, or to the side there on Facebook. Man, so good. So good. I'm so glad I got this today. Very, very happy with it. Very happy with it. So, all right, guys. With that being said, let's transition over to the bench here. Let's pull in the chopper, and let's get you guys zoomed in so you can kind of see what we're working with here. Back that up, and here we go. So we're working on the Jesta back skirts tonight. This is obviously the one that I have finished. This is the one that I started just with that that plate back, on here that I showed. Maybe when did we show that last? Was it Friday? I think it was Friday. Anyway, just kind of duplicated that over on the other side, and that's all I've really done to this, other than fill these pre-molded notches in here. Nothing else has been done. No scribing or plate work or anything like that. So we're going to work on this a little bit tonight. But let's run through some of the details on this guy first. Let's get you super zoomed in, and then we'll hit up the chat, and we'll talk to you guys here in just a moment. But let's see the details on this sucker first, because I'm pretty happy with this one. Let's start at the bottom here. And let's see if we can tilt this up, get a little more light on this without losing focus, because that is razor thin, the focal area. All right, so basically I really like what I was able to accomplish down here. You've got kind of the outline around this vent, with the lines and everything here. I really dig that. You've kind of got this panel here of different little boxes and stuff. I really like that as well. And then just kind of went around and kind of made this border around the main surface panel. And of course you've got some notches to allow that to release from it. And then up here I used just a little sewing pin, just as a kind of a little, just kind of like a little bolt kind of detail, I guess. And then we just did some strapping detail to match what we did on the front skirts. We just have that there, beveled, all that good stuff. And let's see on the sides here, very simple kind of scribes, just to bring that kind of border scribe all the way around and down. And I know that focus is getting a little soft there, actually really soft. Sorry about that, guys. Like I said, when in super zoom, man, the focal distance is razor thin. But so yeah, so I really, really kind of dig how this came out. And of course, you've got that nice little oval cutout that we showed last Friday. So that's the details on this thing. I'm really happy with this. We're going to duplicate this a little bit tonight, or at least get started on duplicating this tonight. But before we jump into that, let's say hi to everybody in the chat, shall we? We're going to start over there on Facebook, where my boy Johnny is with us, and he says, hello, Tim. He says, yes, it does suck. The Monday, that is. Yeah, Mondays suck. Johnny says, "Hey, thanks for the links for the stream gear. Man, you're welcome. You're welcome for that." All right, so let's go back. Let's take a look, see who's over here on YouTube. You guys are talking up a storm. I love it. And let's see who we got here. Gamer Bud is checking in with us here. We have A. Schultz, Mr. Burkana. Freddie Torres is here. Man, you know, I feel bad for Freddie because the U.S. Postal Service lost his Nothing But Mech 4 book today. That sucks. So Mondays really suck for him today. So feel for you, Freddie. I feel for you. But he's getting a replacement sent from Amazon. So that's awesome. If they find the other one, he might end up with 2. So it might be a good Monday for him. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Let's see. Jay Lynch is with us. Awesome. Bro Builder says hello. LOL Scrub. Awesome. Tomas. Thank you for joining and watching, buddy. Appreciate that. Enrico Asanohashi is with us as always. Bailey is always going to be with us. He's there. He's saying, "What's up, everybody?" Awesome. Let's see. Who else do we have? Andrew Young is with us. Hello, Andrew. Hopefully you have school tomorrow. And he's also got some homework, you guys. I gave him some homework. So, let's see. Jay Lynch, I think I mentioned Jay a little bit before, but he's with us as well. Very, very cool. And Bro Builder says, "You kids should look into Luca's work, Calamity.com." Yeah, we've mentioned Luca's work a ton in past books and stuff like that. I think I've shown at least maybe 2 or 3 of his books. I think I have. So yeah, so we're definitely up on Luca's awesome work. So that's a good call there. Let's see. Yeah, there's Freddie. He says, "Unless UPS loses it." Yeah, well, sucks, dude. That sucks. Let's see. Jay Lynch says it already has a ton of details. I'm using the Master Archive to add some missing panel lines, then paint it a blue theme they have in the book. Let's see. High grade GM Strike. Very cool. That's awesome. That sounds like a winner, especially if you're using the Master Archive books, man. Those are amazing books. What is it? Space Rat 53. Great name. Is with us. Welcome, Space Rat 53. Thanks for watching. Definitely seeing some neat ideas I could use towards a custom GM Type C Master Grade I'm planning. Awesome. Dude, those books are amazing. And there's a ton of other books. There's a ton of other books in there. No, there's a ton of other books on that Amazon link down below on YouTube as well that are just mwah. I highly recommend taking a look. I've already sourced a ton of them out. And I think we've gone over probably most of them, or at least all the ones that I have at this point. So starting to run out of books here for you guys. It's getting to be worrisome. But we shall proceed. Let's see. Andrew Young, I just ordered it. I guess Nothing But Mech 4? Hopefully. Let's see. Volume 1 just went up 2 times the price from the Japanese eBay seller I go to. Seems like might have gone out of print. Oh, like Volume 1 of Nothing But Mech? I don't know. It's on, I think all of them are still on Amazon at some sort of price. I think Volume 1 is probably obviously the hardest one to get since it's the oldest one, but I know 2 and 3 I think are still on Prime, so they're still pretty good prices altogether. I think they're around between $22 and $25, I think, at this point. But yeah, Volume 1 might be a little bit more difficult to grab since it's older. So let's see. Oh, sorry to hear that. I think on Amazon it happened the same. Oh, for the price jump. Yeah, you know, it happens. It happens. Everybody wants the books, especially when a new one comes out. Everybody wants to go get caught up too. So it happens, you know. So, let's see. Bailey says, I don't usually like border panels on skirt armor, but he nailed it here. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Andrew Young, has anyone ever tried the Olfa Circle Cutter? The Olfa Circle Cutter that you can get online and like in craft stores and stuff like that, it's usually way too big for our purposes, mainly because the minimum diameter is something like 10 millimeters, so 1 centimeter, which is in our world massive in terms of details. So you're going to need something a little different, much smaller than that. Let's see. So I got this this little circle cutter here off of let's get zoomed out so you can see the whole thing. I got this off of Hobby Search back, I want to say a year or two ago, and this is what, Super Punch Compass Titanium Blade Special. I'm sure there's another name for it, but that's what it is here in English. And oh, it's a Platts. Okay, I forgot who the company was, but this is a Platts Platz circle cutter. This was like maybe $10, and it goes down to like almost to the blade. So about, and you can kind of angle these blades very, very sharply toward one another, and you can get about a millimeter diameter circle out of this little guy. And man, this comes in handy. This is a absolute treasure when it comes to cutting masking tape and stuff like that on a curve or something, especially if you want to mask off the little inner details of little circular parts, or say I wanted to mask off this little bolt detail here. This is 1.4 millimeters in diameter. So I could use that, cut a little circle, pop that right on there, and never have to worry about it. So that little circle cutter, man, it's a dream. Absolute dream. But the Olfa circle cutter, I would probably say is a no-go, simply because the minimum diameter it can achieve is just going to be way, way, way too big. So let's see. Freddie Torres got the rest of my books, though. Awesome, dude. Sounds like he got a few of them, so that sounds really good. Let's see. Julius Dembski is back again for another exciting episode. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Carlo Castro, stomach ache here. Not so good food poisoning. Ew, sorry about that, Carlos. That sounds like shit. Sounds terrible, man. So I hope you feel better, buddy. I hope you feel better. But he says still watching. Hey, you know what? You're a trooper, brother. Andrew Young says, boy, I handed in my homework for you. Yeah, I saw it. I haven't actually clicked on it yet, but I saw it was in the chat. So I'll take a look at it either tonight or tomorrow. So not a problem. Andrew Young says, yeah, I just ordered the Mech 4 book from the link. Awesome. Thank you, man. Thank you. Let's see. Freddie Torres says you can order the used books too. Yeah, that's a good, it's a very good point. You can use, and most of them are in good condition, he says. So yeah, that's a very, very good point. If they're out of, brand new copy, you can get a used one pretty inexpensively. So that's a good call right there. Let's see. Oh, okay. Bailey says, no, the GM Mobile Suit Master Archive Volume 1 seems it might have just become harder to source. Gotcha. I understand. So, Andrew Young says, fancy. Bailey says, I have the same TI Blade Circle Cutter too from Hobby Search. It's a rebrand. I'm pretty sure an American company makes them too. Andrew Young says, okay. I was looking at circle cutters. Ace Schultz says, hey, Tim, I messaged you about the prizes in case you wanted to know. Cool. Well, I will check that when I have a chance. So that's probably on my main account, which I'm not on currently, and I wouldn't want to necessarily stop the stream in the middle of a check an instant message. You know what I mean? So, all right. So now that we're caught up, let's get to working here, okay? So what we're going to do, we're zoomed in pretty good. We need to, number one, separate the back from the skirt, toss that off to the side, bring this little guy in here. So let's see. Whew. Where to begin, right? Where to begin? Oh, no, Berkana, no, you don't have to. I'll just check it after the stream and everything, so not a problem. Nah, just one. It's all good. All right, so let's see. What I want to start off first is down here, the front of this back skirt, the kind of the bottom here. And all I did was basically just take a piece of Dymo tape here and slapped it about 1.5 millimeters away from this edge, and that created the border outline scribe, so then I could scribe that in, and then also I could scribe this line right there as well. So we're going to start with that. We're going to do a little bit of scribing tonight, guys, so that's going to be probably the primary topic tonight, is just scribing. So we are going to go through this, and I'm going to show you how I kind of achieved these, because this was a bit of a complicated piece, I won't lie. Even for me, this was somewhat complicated, and I had to really kind of think about how to achieve these different shapes and stuff. So we just have a normal piece of Dymo tape. We haven't trimmed this down width-wise or anything like that, and we're just kind of going to eyeball this here. We'll measure it here in just a second, but that looks to be about 1.5 mil right there. Let's measure it just to be on the safe side. And let's see, 1.5 mil, 1.5 mil, cool. So one way to kind of eyeball to see if your tape is straight, or your piece, or whatever it may be that you're trying to align parallel with another piece, is to just kind of look down, look down the piece, kind of down where the, by the strip, by the piece of tape. It's hard to explain, you guys. It sucks because I can't show you what I'm looking at. So basically what I do is I look at it like this. I hold it at an angle and I look at it, like this, and I see if these two pieces are parallel. Similar to if you buy a 2x4 at a home store or something like that, and you want to make sure that 2x4 is straight, right, and straight and true. So you hold it up and you look at it down the length of the 2x4. That's essentially what we're doing here. We're looking down the length of the tape to see if there's any wobble between the tape and the edge of the piece. So that's that's the technique that I use, and I find that to be very, very useful and very successful in terms of getting the right width on something to make sure that they're parallel. So let's throw the eyes on here. Let's 100% make sure with a 1 millimeter thick piece of plastic. And let's see. That looks parallel to me. So we're going to go with that. All right, so very simple. We're going to start with scribing both of these sides here. Now, obviously, this is going to be super easy right here because this is just on a straight surface with no curves or weird ridges or anything like that. So this goes super quick. And there we go. Got those two lines established for the front. So that's what we're the first kind of step that we're going to do in this process. So excuse me. And actually, I just screwed the pooch on this. See, that's how easy this is done, because what I was supposed to do is not scribe up all the way on the second line. Shit. Not a problem. That can be fixed. Little super glue filler. Easy peasy. So next, I'm going to make sure that this parallel line, now this one goes all the way straight through to the corresponding border. Yeah, okay. So, everybody makes mistakes, right? All right. So basically, this line right here, I scribed all the way up to the top when I should have stopped it right there where that tape is. Careless mistake. Plain and simple. Careless mistake. But, like I said, that can be easily fixed with a little bit of super glue in there. So I'm not really worried about that at all. But this line starts at this border here, goes all the way over. And you do want to be careful about scribing off this edge here, simply because this angles. And if you just drag it off, your chisel will have a tendency to curve off into that surface. So you want to be careful with your end scribe. Okay. Looks good there. So now we've got basically these two upper lines established here. Let's see if we can get in the light there. So we've got this line established here, and you can see how this vertical line right here stops right there at this horizontal line, right? What I did by accident was I extended, let's see, right there, I extended that horizontal line all the way up to the edge of the piece. So basically what we have to do is we just have to eliminate this line right here. And like I said, a little bit of super glue, no worries whatsoever. So very, very easy to fill that in. Very easy. So what we need to do next, so we need some thinner pieces of Dymo tape. So we're going to need to cut some very, very thin strips of Dymo. Chisel discipline, by the way. Get your shirts. So we're going to get a few strips of Dymo cut here, because we need to make the border scribe around this venting area, right? So that's what we're going to do. All right, let's see. What are you guys talking about here? Okay, cool. What did I break? I don't know what I broke. Advertising while he's working. What? Anyway. Always have to be advertising. ABC, always be closing. All right, so here we go. Cut that down. And like I said, we need about 1 millimeter width. Oh, let's see. Where's a good scrap piece of millimeter thick plastic that I can use as a guide? Here we go. 1 mil by 1 mil. Makes a perfect guide for your stop block here on your chopper 2. Pull that out. And now we're just going to cut the Dymo tape here vertically. Push that in, make little bitty strips just like that. We're going to adhere that to the border of that venting area to make that border scribe. So really easy process here. Just watch your fingers. Don't cut your fingers off on your chopper 2, because I don't think you're wife, girlfriend, mom would be very happy about that. And then they'd probably blame me. I don't want that either. I don't need that in my life. Okay. And when you get down to where the strip is thin like this, you want to start using kind of a straight edge to hold that piece of tape in place. Because you're not going to use your fingers. Or at least you shouldn't use your fingers. I'm sure Andrew Young probably would use his fingers. Let's just say that. We have fun with Andrew, don't we, guys? All right. Let's see that one. Perfect. Okay, cool. So we got all these strips, all these little bitty strips here on the chopper too. So we're gonna kind of put these off to the side. And you know what? If you don't use these all at once, man, save them for later. You know, because you'll find other sources to use these pieces of tape. Okay. Just making sure that the width on these are consistent. That one I'm not sure about. This one looks perfect. We'll use this one. All right. So now what we need is we need a little strip to go this way, and then we need one for the top, and then we need one to wrap around here. So let's do that one first, and then we'll work our way back. And as we go, I'll show you kind of the process of how to peel these off. Okay. So let's see, about like that. That looks like a good length for that. Okay. All right, so now that we have our line already established on the other surface, we're just simply trying to match the line and bring that up to the top surface here, right? So what we need to do is we need to be super careful and line this up perfectly with that other line. And not only do we need to make sure that it's matching the line itself, we need to make sure that it's perpendicular, or not perpendicular, but parallel with it as well, going all the way down the piece. Because any angle differences you're going to be able to see with your naked eye, but that looks pretty damn good. So let's get this other piece, where'd the knife go, on here first. And then that way we'll have a distinct corner that we can scribe from. Okay. All right, so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm putting the strips of Dymo on the outside of the scribe. Now, normally what you could do is you could put them right up against this edge here, or this edge here, and then scribe around them. I really don't like to do that. I like to kind of do the opposite. I like to let these outline the scribe line, and then scribe on the inside of that tape, which is a little bit different from what you've probably seen in most books and places and all that. So let's see. Hopefully I won't get my big head in the way here. Okay, that looks really good there. And let's see, let's just match this up. Cool. Okay, so that looks like a good width. The inner edge there, and let's take this nice and slow, because the one thing that you're going to find scribing with this width of Dymo tape is you're gonna need to be very, very, very delicate, because since there's not a lot of surface area for the tape to grip onto, you don't want to put a lot of pressure against the tape. You simply want the tape to guide the chisel, and that's it, right? Okay, so now we need that last piece of Dymo tape to come up and around the venting area to establish that second corner for us. Okay. Just need to straighten this piece of Dymo tape out here. And then we'll get back to it. Hopefully my visor's not in the way of you guys seeing this, because this is a little bit, you need to be meticulous with this sort of thing, because any offset can be seen with the naked eye. I'm very particular about making sure that the lines are parallel and widths are the same and things of that nature. All right. Okay. So now, just need to extend this top line a bit, which my Dymo tape originally was not long enough. So we just reposition it very, very carefully, right on the line itself, and you just simply bring that over. Okay. All right, so now we've got all those lines established. Now we can go back and we can deepen these scribes and get those lines finalized here. All right, looks good there. Now, over the weekend, since we're getting pretty close to having this thing finished, construction-wise, I guess. I was thinking about what I want to accomplish with this model. What's the end game on this, right? How do I want it to look? Do I want to just paint it normally? Do I want it, something a little bit more custom? How do I want the display to look? Do I want to build a base? All that good stuff. And over the weekend, as I was building, I was watching one of my favorite past series on HBO here in the States. It's called, for those of you who haven't seen it, it's called Generation Kill, and it's about the Iraq War, the beginning of Operation Desert Storm and all that good stuff. And it's a few years old, but man, it's so good, and I just really, really love that series. So I was watching that, and I kind of got some ideas from, just watching the series. So what I think I'm gonna do is have a base. I'm definitely gonna have a base for this thing. I want to build a base, and I like to have some sort of plaque or plate or something like that on my display bases to kind of tell a story, right? Or to further the story, if you will. So if you guys have never seen Generation Kill, the jargon that they use on the communications, the comms, is pretty accurate to what it is in real life, right? So they have different designations. They have they call in firing grids and all that stuff, right? So the jargon itself is actually a very, very large part of the show, and even at the end of every show, when the credits roll, they have recordings of real Marine jargon from different operations and things like that. So just super cool. And I thought what I would do is maybe have like an engraved plaque or just something little, and maybe just kind of come up with my own kind of jargon, for between the Jesta and command or something like that. So I thought that was a pretty interesting idea, and I kind of like that it would both be very militaristic, but also somewhat kind of extend the story, or kind of show maybe, I don't know, like an outline of the story, or maybe what's going on. I kind of like that direction. I kind of like that idea. There's a place online that I get, different plaques and stuff. Hey, Mikey415 Abria, thank you for the subscribe there on YouTube. Welcome to the family, Mikey. Thanks for watching, buddy. That's awesome of you, by the way. And so, like I said, I thought, kind of tying that in and, seeing what communications like that are kind of in a realistic Marine, command, what would we think about that? How would we, I guess, kind of translate that over into kind of, EFSF, right? So, oh, Gmod, rock and roll, dude. Cool. Thank you, man. Thanks for watching, brother. Awesome. Always a pleasure. No, man, always a pleasure for seeing your stuff, brother. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much for the subscribe too. Appreciate that, dude. But so yeah, so I'm thinking like, just almost like a script, come up with like a, I don't know, just a jargon or something, like EFS jargon. And I think that would be kind of cool. Just have it off to the side so you can kind of, read through it and stuff like that. Yeah, I thought that would be kind of an interesting idea. I've never seen anything quite like that. You know, it would add kind of a dose of realism into otherwise a very fictional, look, So that's kind of my idea. I'm going to have to kind of refine that and really, before I can really start to run with it and kind of finalize it and stuff like that. But I kind of like the basis of that. I'm kind of feeling it, because I don't necessarily want this particular Jesta, to be like special ops or echo ops or anything like that, anything super custom or, command unit or anything like that. I just kind of want this one to, sort of be kind of like a hardcore grunt, kind of like a Marine, because obviously, if you know anything about American military, the Marines are kind of like the badasses of the American military personnel, at least for kind of like your enlisted men, right? Excluding your teams and stuff like that, SEALs, Rangers, Delta, all those guys. So. But of the branches of military, they're kind of like the badasses, They're like, don't fuck with a Marine, dude. It's kind of like that idea. So that's kind of the feeling that I want to really kind of achieve with this particular Jesta. I don't want him to be custom. I don't want him to be a command unit. I just want him to be a badass. Just kind of like a badass grunt. I think it would be cool. I think it would be real cool. So that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. Anywho. All right. So we've got that outline scribe established around that vent. Let's refer back to the original part here. So that is looking pretty good. That border looks consistent all the way around that vent opening. I like that. These look consistent there as well. Very good. So now, what I'm going to need to do is to wrap this line around and all the way up this edge here as well. So that's a little tricky. I'm not going to lie to you guys. To do that, though, we're going to use one of these long little strips of Dymo tape. And we're going to pop this right on the edge. And we're going to use this as the guide to wrap this piece. Actually, I'm going to move this down just a little bit here. And we'll refer back to the original part here in a moment. But let's get this backing stripped off here. Okay. All right, slide it down so I can see what the hell I'm doing. Okay, lay that down. Let's make sure that it's nice and parallel and consistent all the way through. It looks pretty good. Might need to raise it up just a bit. Let's check it with the other piece. Yeah, we're going to need to raise that up just a teensy tiny bit. So to do that on a consistent basis, what I like to do is use kind of a straight piece of plastic here and just kind of wiggle that Dymo tape up the piece. And shit, I just slipped off. Man, oh man. Not very graceful right now, you guys. Okay. like here? Okay, so that looks good enough. We'll go with that. So let's get this line scribed in here, and then we'll wrap that line over onto this beveled piece here, and then we'll get caught up with the chat. What do you guys think? I think that's a good idea, because I know you guys are talking a bunch, and I want to get caught up. I'll talk to you guys in return. Let's get the visor down so I can see what the hell I'm doing with this thing. All right, so one quick thing. If you see long strings of plastic like that, right? That's when you know you're scribing a good line. That's what you want to see, are those long, thin little strips of plastic, because that's what's coming out of your scribe line. And if you see long, thin little strips of plastic like that coming out of a line this long, then you know for 100% assurance that that scribe is nice and flat on the bottom. Yep. You can see kind of the little strips hanging off here. That's what you want to see, essentially. So those just peel right off. A little annoying, but not a big deal. All right, so we'll strip that off of there, and now all we have to do is just kind of connect these 2 points here between the bevel. So what I'm going to do is grab a straight edge of some sort here. This is just a piece of plastic, and I'm just using this as a makeshift straight edge, right? I'm not gonna take the time to put a piece of tape on here or anything when I can just use a simple straight edge for this, because all we really need to do is establish this line, and then I can deepen it after the fact. Okay. All right. Okay, so now we've got this main line right here. Let's see if we can get it focused first. And all right, so we've got this line right here, this top line, all the way wrapped around this bevel here, right there. You can see a little scratch in the plastic above it. We'll sand that out later, not a big deal. And then now it's wrapped parallel to the top of this thing. Now, this is a tapered piece, meaning that the height here is less than, say, the height here, right? You can kind of see how that tapers down. This edge is flat, and it's tapering down that way. So we need to be cognizant of that. So I put my parallel line to the top of the piece. So that's what I'm gauging parallel off of. So very important to keep in mind when you have a tapered piece like that, because if you gauge your parallels off of different edges, then those lines are not going to be parallel, right? So keep that in mind, guys. That's important. All right, so let's get caught up in the chat. Let's talk to you guys. Let's go back to camera 1. Boom, boom, boom. All right, so, whoa, lots of you talking. Lots of talk. Let's see. What are we talking about? Holy shit. Oh, my. Okay, here we go. I think I found where I need to catch up on. We're going to be doing this for the rest of the night at this point. You guys are talking up a storm here. Enrika Asanohashi, I've been using Haikyuu's guide tape since like a year ago, and that's much better than Daimo, but still, I should try plastic strips. Yeah, you know, using a scribing jig like I've shown in many past streams, man, it makes it so super easy, because it's, you know, it's obviously you can repeat that on any piece with your jig, and yeah, makes it super, super simple and very efficient too, because you don't have to go peeling, cutting the tape just accurately and everything like that as well. So yeah, I highly recommend using jigs where you can. With this piece, it's not that easy. This piece is a little bit complicated in terms of where the lines lay and stuff like that. Obviously, I've already made a mistake repeating it. So kind of goes to show how you can't necessarily always use a scribing jig, but yeah, man, use them when you can. Let's see, Andrew Young, because I get a bunch of different widths and such, that way I can always use it as a guide, glue it on the side, and then scribe along it and pop it off. Yeah, that's another way to do it too. I just don't like to glue pieces on if I don't have to. You can really mess up a part real good if you get too much glue on there, or if you have it misaligned. I do like a little bit of wiggle, you know, and a little bit of variance that I can achieve, rather than just super gluing it on and having it there no matter what, you know. So obviously you can pop it off and put it back on, but I don't know. It doesn't seem necessarily all that efficient that way. So food for thought. Food for thought. Julius Dembski, glad you brought up painting. Are you going to continue this video series with the painting process? Yes, absolutely. I'm interested in how you prime, thin paint, and paint different colors on the same panel. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, that is a good subject to touch on just real quick. Chisel discipline. So I use Mr. Hobby almost exclusively. I've got some SMS paints that my good friend Scott Taylor sent to me to demo and try. Those are amazing, by the way. Those are available at USA Gundam Store right now. They might seem pricey at about $10 a bottle, but think about it. They're 3 times larger than Mr. Hobby jars right now. They are 30 milliliters instead of 10 milliliters. So if you divide that by 3, you're at the same price point as a Mr. Hobby jar of paint as well. So, and they're super great colors too. You're not going to find some of those colors that Scott has in pretty much any other line. So, man, highly recommended SMS paints. But for the most part, right now, most of my paint inventory is Mr. Hobby, Mr. Color. So, you know, I use Mr. Surfacer 1000 to prime, and then I use, you know, the Mr. Hobby or Mr. Color paints, and those lay down so nicely. And you can paint white on black, no problem. I've done it plenty of times. Or a dark color, white over a dark color. I've done that on the Hummingbird, and I've actually done it on the Aussie, on the sleeves portions of the Aussie. I laid down the black base coat because that was the lowest color in terms of height. Masked that off, and then I painted white over top of that, and you would never frickin' know that I painted the black first. It's just, it's so easy that way, right? If you paint from lowest point on a surface to the highest point on a surface, then you're going to find that the masking process is so much easier. You'll be able to use the edges as kind of a cutting guide. Mind you, I don't necessarily recommend cutting the tape on the surface of the model, but if you have to, you can of course use the panel lines as your cut guides. And then of course you won't see the cuts very much anyways, especially if you've already, you know, kind of got some nice crispy deep panel lines too. So, and then once you, you know, do your panel line wash in that, you know, any cuts will probably disappear anyway. But still, you need to be careful. So, yeah, we'll definitely get into that when the time comes. And I'll go through painting and all that stuff. But yeah, we will continue. We will absolutely continue. The stream's not going anywhere anytime soon. Trust me. Because when I finish working on this, I'll just start something new and work on that, right? So yeah, no, we're not going anywhere anytime soon. So trust in that. Let's see. Andrew Young, I could never get it to be as symmetrical with tape compared to strips. And with the chopper, I can make a 45-degree angle and just scribe along tiny lines. Yeah, you know, it's all on what works for you, I guess, right? Let's see. Jay Lynch, how does paint behave with the polycaps? Would you do the same process of priming then paint? Polycaps are made from a material called polypropylene, I believe is what they use. Or is it polyethylene? It's either one of the two. I forget which off the top of my head. But the polycaps, you really cannot paint or prime those unless you use some sort of heavy-duty adhesion enhancer. Now, our good friend Mike Wine from those Gundam guys has tried this in the past to some success, and he was able to use a automotive style adhesion promoter to actually paint and prime polycaps, actual Bandai polycaps. Now, me personally, I probably wouldn't recommend it simply because in most modern Bandai models, you're never going to see them because in most modern models, they've done a very, very good job in covering those polycaps up with a part or a cover of some sort, something like that. The only ones that I can really think off the top of my head right now are kind of the old wing kits that have the polycap joints that are just really shitty. But yeah, so I wouldn't necessarily worry about them, but it is possible with some definite extra steps. So, but check out Mike Wine on Facebook. Gundamonium is his Facebook page. I think he's done a pretty good write-up on there. If you're really, really interested and you really want to paint your polycaps, he's definitely been able to do it. I don't know the durability, the long-lasting durability of it, but initial durability, he said, looked really, really good with using an automotive adhesion promoter. So it's a possibility. So there you go. Let's see. Soravon Zero holding it down for us over there on Twitch he says, so thinking on a desert color scheme, it would make it easier to get all that scribing to pop. You know, I don't know. I haven't really, I'll be honest, I haven't decided on color scheme yet. I don't know if I want to go with a desert scheme just coming off of the Aussie. In my mind, the Aussie really was never kind of a desert, you know, mech, even though it had that color scheme, right? I always saw it as a space mech with kind of that tan color scheme. But it's easy to make that assumption, obviously, without knowing what's in my head, right? So, coming off of that, I don't know if I want to do a desert scheme right away. I'll be honest with you. What I was thinking is maybe kind of go dark with this guy. I've got that really nice charcoal gray 40th anniversary Mr. Color that I'm dying to use right now. It's actually graphite color. And man, I think having that as a base color would just be badass. So I'm going to have to do some paint tests and find out what that looks like when it's actually applied and clear coat and all that good stuff. But that's kind of where my head's at with this one. I want to go a little dark with this guy. So we'll see. I'll play with some colors, and you never know what I'm going to decide on, because I don't even know what I'm going to decide on at this point. So Freddie Torres says, get some Bulldog adhesion promoter. Yeah, that's the one that Mike Wine used. So thank you, Freddie, for mentioning that. Appreciate that. Let's see. Andrew Young says polycaps are pretty hidden. Usually wouldn't really need to paint. Bailey says, and newer kits are coming with less and less polycaps as well. Yeah, most of them are styrene on styrene. So that's another good point that I didn't even think about. So, let's keep going. Polycaps hurt my eyes. Wow. Wing kits from the 90s, Enrico Asanohashi mentioned. Yep, definitely there. Let's see. They were not fun. Those 90 wing kits were not fun. You know, if you don't know about it, if you don't know any better, obviously is just somebody starting out like I did with those shitty wing kits, then they were just amazing. But looking back now, I can see where they're just terrible. Let's see. The master grades are nowhere near in cool details. Also, high grades are nice for customs. I don't know if I agree with Burkana on that one. I don't know. Enrico Asanohasi says sometimes they had way too much detail, like the panel lines on the legs. And then Ace Schultz Burkana says, oh God, Wing Proto, biggest master grade disappointment ever. Really? I haven't had the chance to really look at that one, but I would definitely change up some things. So Andrew Young says, yeah, but the old Wing Zero was so love and this new Proto is ew. Yeah, that's kind of what I would change up on it. I'd probably bash the old kit with the new one just to kind of get an amalgam of old versus new. I kind of like the old proportions and look of that better, especially the wings on the old one. So yeah, I kind of agree. Let's see. Bailey says, I really like the Master Grade Wing TV version, though. So lucky they even bothered to make it. True. This is true. Let's see. No one cares about custom. I do. I like the Wing custom. Shut up, Andrew. Let's see. Let's keep going. Man, talking about the old Wing kits and stuff like that. You guys are terrible. Let's see. Original Altron was amazing, sure. But they called that P Bandai Nataku Altron and ruined everything. Womp womp. Edwin RSA is with us. He says, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Edwin. Thank you for joining us here tonight, or this morning for you. That's awesome. Andrew Young, Tim's reaction with the YouTube comments is like me in class. Holy crap, what the fuck did I just write? Looks at equations. I don't know what I wrote. Okay. Not sure exactly what that means, Andrew, but hey, let's just go with it, right? Let's see. A. Schultz says, I'm interested in the water slides. I spent like 10 hours on a leg and chest today. Yeah, water slides are fun. I love water slides, man. Probably the best part. Polyethylene. Okay, that's what I thought. It was either one of the polys, polypropylene or polyethylene. I couldn't remember which off the top of my head, but I knew it was one of those polys. Yeah, PE, polyethylene, yeah. But Andrew says, but only because it sounds like a polymer, LOL, organic chemistry. Okay. M. Nielsen is with us. He says, that sounds like etch primer. For the polycaps. I don't know. It's some sort of adhesion promoter. It's very very heavy duty stuff. Like I said, it's automotive adhesion promoter for plastics and things that you would find in in cars. Like say if you wanted to paint like a dashboard, like a plastic injection molded dashboard or something like that, you would use that first, spray your primer, spray your paint, and then you're good to go pretty much. But I don't know what it actually is. Let's put it that way. Let's see. Jay Lynch says, thanks for the info. Cool. Enrico Asanohashi, and the desert thing suits the concept. Andrew Young says, Grim Reapers. No, not with this one. Not with this one. Space Rat 53, a dark urban camo? Definitely dark, but I don't think camo. I'm not really a big camo fan. At least for giant mechs, right? Because it just seems kind of weird for this big, 2-story, monstrous robot to be in camouflage. It just doesn't make sense to me. So probably not camouflage, right? M. Nielsen, I found the first Gundam I started. It was a 144 Bawu in 1984. Damn, son. Keep that. Keep that as a memento, right? That's awesome. Space Rat, I'm interested in learning how to make my own decals, but what would I need for that? We actually touched on that a little bit on Friday. It's not as easy. It's not anywhere near as easy as it used to be. Back in the day, early 2000s, all that, we still had access to what are called ALPS printers, ALPS, and they're dry ribbon printers that basically the print head heated the ink on the ribbon and permanently adhered it to whatever surface you were printing it on. You could use that for on decal paper, right? The amazing thing about ALPS printers was that they had all sorts of different colored ink. They had white ink. They had metallic silver. They had metallic gold. They had metallic like copper and stuff like that. Really awesome outside of the box colors that you could not achieve, right? And the other cool thing is that you could layer those different colors too. So to make decals, what you would do is you would layer a shape of white down, and then you would print your colors over top of that. Then you could adhere that to a dark colored model, and it would look completely normal, right? Much like professional decal makers, do today. The inherent problem with that is ALPS has pretty much disappeared in the US. The ink is extremely expensive, it to the point where it's prohibitive almost to really try and make your own decals, which sucks. They're still widely available in Asian countries and things of that nature, and also finding printers and parts for the printers and stuff has just become so much of a hassle. It's not even worth trying to invest your time to try and print, your own decals at this point. Now, with that being said, laser jet printers are probably going to be the closest thing currently to the old ALPS printers, but the big problem that we touched on Friday is that there's no proper way to keep registration if you're printing in layers, meaning that the process for printing on most consumer-based laser printers currently is you put the paper in, it prints it, and spits it out. That's where the issue comes into play, because if you try and put that back in and you hope that the registration will be the same, it will definitely not be the same, and then you'll have an offset decal and it'll just look terrible, which then again, it defeats the purpose of even making your own decals. So you can print colored decals on LaserJet decal paper, but you would need to strictly adhere those to very light colored parts, white, light gray at most, to retain that color saturation and that color hue that you wanted originally. So that's the main problem. Now, that's not to say that it's impossible to print your decals, but there's going to be some big limitations. You can get white ink for laser jets, but again, without having that registration, you're only going to be able to print just white decals. You're not going to be able to print reliably on top of that white simply because of the registration problem. If they made a printer that would not spit it out at the end and just ingest it back through and then print that second layer of coloring on top of that white, then all problems with the world would be solved. Everybody would be able to print their own water slide decals in their home for an inexpensive price. But as far as I know, and I've looked far and wide, there's no printer that I've found thus far consumer-based that can keep registration and ingest that paper back in. It's a pisser, unfortunately. Yeah, Freddie says I designed my own decals and had them printed and had them print them out. Who did you go through, Freddie? I don't know. There's a bunch of companies that will do custom decals. HiQ actually will do custom decals if you can, find their website, stuff like that. They do custom. I don't know how well or what the prices are. Could be outrageous, but HiQ decals their mass-produced decals are the best in the business, hands down. I don't think you're going to receive that quality if you go through their custom services, unfortunately. FalloutHobbies.com. How did they print them, Freddie? Were they like on Alps, like old Alps printers or something like that, or do you know what the process they use? Because I'm always in the market for custom decal prints at this point, so that's always interesting. But so in response, there's major hurdles to be jumped if you want to get into that making your own decals. So best thing I would say is to design your own and then have someone else worry about printing them out. So Samuel Decal used to do them, but he doesn't do customs anymore. There are a couple other stores, online venues that do that. Fallout Hobbies, like Freddie had mentioned, obviously do those. So, yeah. Jonathan G. Hey, I know you recommended the chopper, but will one of those small miter boxes work as a cheap alternative for cutting plastic? Not on a reliable basis. And I have several of those miter boxes. Actually, one right there is a plastic one. So I have that, and I also have a metal one as well. You're not going to get the same precision out of those, unfortunately. And also, if you want to make repeatable cuts, like with the stop block and things like that, you're probably not going to get the same accuracy as those. And with the variance in wiggle in those slots where you put the saw, that saw can kind of rock back and forth both vertically and horizontally. So you have tolerance issues. So me personally, I wouldn't necessarily go that route. I would save up for a chopper because it is so much more accurate. You're going to be able to get so much better cuts with those, at least on thinner pieces of plastic. On thicker pieces of plastic, 2.5 millimeters and up, width-wise, some big, heavy pieces, then you'd probably want to saw those with the miter box. But on thin pieces like we use on, for detailing and stuff like that, I can't recommend anything other than the chopper at this point, simply because of the accuracy that you have in the chopper. So there you go. Win I'm Ong is over there on Facebook. What's up, Win? Thank you for watching, brother. He says, Bedlam Creations and Fallout Hobbies are good price and quality, thin heat print. So yeah, so basically like Alps, like that technology, because they heated up like I said, they heated up the print head to adhere that tape to whatever surface that you're printing on. So that's awesome to know. Thank you, Win. Appreciate that, buddy. Win, I've been telling everybody that they're going to look forward to those little busts for the fundraiser. So everybody's excited, brother. So thank you for that donation as well. That's pretty awesome of you. So very cool. Very cool. Let's see. Freddie Torres says, not Alps, forgot what they used, printed them years ago. Okay. Probably not. Okay, so probably the same sort of technology, but not Alps at that point. So let's see. Freddie Torres says $35 a sheet if they design them for you. If you design your own, way cheaper. Interesting. Mine came out to about $15 to $20 a sheet. Now, what size is the sheet though? Is it 8.5 by 11, or is it smaller? Is it smaller than that? I don't know. So, Andrew Young. Okay, I really need to get off the stream to study. I got no self-control. Good night. Good night, Andrew. Bailey says a chopper is just worth it. I agree, man. I totally agree. Carlo Castro, what did you use for design? And it looks like Freddie has not commented back, but me personally, I like to use like Adobe Illustrator, something like that. Freddie Torres, 8.5 by 5.5, so it's definitely a little bit smaller, probably about half a normal sheet of printer paper. So basically that. So that's good to know. That's actually a decent size. That's not bad, actually. So for 15 to 20 bucks, I'd pay it. Yeah, I have to look into that. Thank you for mentioning that, both Freddie and to Win over there on Facebook. That's awesome. Yeah, still huge for decals. Yeah, definitely. And you can pack a ton of decals in that. What was the resolution like? Because that's always a main concern with me. Resolution. What's the smallest sized type that they can print? And also, and this one is important, if they can achieve true 50% gray. Because if they can, without pixelation, without having the dots in there and everything like that, then you know they're quality decals, right? But if they can't achieve 50% gray on a consistent, smooth color basis, then they're not necessarily perfect. And that was always the problem with the Alps. You could never achieve 50% gray, or any gray for that matter. It was either white or black, or just, kind of a muddle of colors that looked gray at that point. So let's see. Freddie Source still have so many left over. Yeah, I would definitely use that for shoulder logos, insignias, things like that. Custom colors, say if you're wanting to blend those decals in with a color that you're painting your model. Say if you wanted okay, so Freddie says gray is not as good as white or black. Okay, kind of expected, and that's not a deal breaker by any stretch of the imagination, but it is something to think about if you're designing decals. Gray is probably the toughest color for those types of printers to replicate. Gray essentially needs to be screen printed, like what HiQ uses on a mass production scale on like a 4-color heavy duty printer. That's almost like silk screen. So Win says, yep, for all Fallout hobbies, they will require vector files or they turn it into it. So yeah, so Illustrator or something along those lines. That's what I use, Adobe Illustrator, and yeah, it works well. Bedlam, on the other hand, they can print bitmap files, so gray varies. Yeah, and again, that's not surprising because that's a super, super, super hard color to try and replicate on custom decals. It is not easy for those printers to do it. So again, it's not a game changer. It's not a deal breaker. But having sources for custom decals, it's good to know. So thank you, boys. Appreciate that. When Among says, and Bedlam won't cut it out. The edging. Oh, okay, so it's not. Yeah, it's not pre-cut. You have to absolutely trim them yourself, which again is normal for custom print decals. At least that's how I used to do mine. I would just print on one sheet and you cut them out yourself. And quite honestly, that's how I like it. I would much rather trim them myself and get them as close as possible than to have someone else try and approximate the cutting. Okay, so now I'm getting two separate pieces of information. Freddie on YouTube says Fallout won't either, but then Win says Fallout will. I don't know. Freddie says at least back then they didn't. They might have changed. So that's another thing I guess to think about. Freddie's talking, several years ago, and Win could be talking here just recently. So they might have changed their processes and things. So Shield of Iron is on there watching on Twitch. They say, howdy, Banshee Verka is fun. Gonna eventually test print some custom decals. Very cool. Very cool. Win says, sorry if you ask them to, I guess. Okay. Yep, I got mine 2 months ago. Okay, so very, very recently. So that's a good thing. That's very good to know. So cool. Thank you, Win. Appreciate that, buddy. So very cool. We're caught up, guys. Nice. Let's get back to work, shall we? So good talking to you guys. Man, good conversations. Custom decals, painting, all that good crap. Very cool. Very cool. All right. So last we saw of this, we've wrapped this one line around the piece here. So now we've got to worry about the top. Not much going on this shit. I'm sitting here talking and showing the camera model pieces and not showing you guys. Sorry about that, guys. Hey, Schill says, back to work, you ugly modelers. Nice. I like that. Okay, so let's get back to what I was saying, right? Get focused. There we go. So, like I said, we wrapped this this scribe line around these three edges and up the side here. Focus, camera. Come on. You're killing me right now. Here we go. So we've wrapped this line around. So now what we've got to do is we've got to worry about the top and then also this line coming up here. But that's going to be last because we need to worry about this strapping detail here on the sides. That's actually really, really easy to do because I've already got some pieces already established. So realistically, all we have to do is grab one of the front skirts here. And actually, we're going to need this one because we're going to need the opposite. And now these two are perfectly aligned like that, right? And then I took this one and aligned it up like that with this other, with the first back skirt. So now we know that these are both perfectly aligned. So now all we have to do is align the finished piece and the not finished piece, right? And we're going to have it consistent across all four parts. So very easy process. And now all we have to do is cut a little notch right where that plate is. Okay. And let's see if you can see those little, just these little cuts right there. You can hardly see them. And there's one right there, right? So that's all you have to do to gain alignment on the piece. And then for parallel, all you have to do here is use the top edge. We're not using the bottom since it's tapered. We're using the top since that's what we're gauging flat off of. And then line up your T-square with that. And then I just kind of cut a line right there. Now, don't worry about this line, because this line will eventually disappear. Either it will be covered with the plastic sheet, or we're going to do an outline scribe around that, and that'll just disappear along with the outline scribe, right? So very, very simple to do. And then we do the same thing with the other corresponding line up at the top. Right there. Okay, so now that is where our plastic strip will live. Okay, so if we match this up against the original piece, you can see there how that lines up perfectly. So that's an easy way to transfer measurements from one part to the next, right? Very, very simple to do. So now what we need is, actually, I think I've already cut pieces for this. Yep, cool. So when I was working on this piece here, I've already made some pre-cut pieces to adhere to this part as well. Easy peasy. So this part goes back in here. We're not going to need this angled part just yet. I don't want to lose that, so we're going to put that away. So we're going to put this piece right between those lines. And actually that fits really nice since that plastic raised up. You can actually just nestle that piece of plastic between those two cuts, right? So very, very simple to do. But before we work on that, let's get the eyes back on here. All right. So what I like to do, I'm going to super glue this in place simply because it's easier. And we're just going to spread that between these two lines, just like that. Pick this up with the tweezers so we don't get super glue on our hands. And place that very, very carefully. Just like that. And if you have some spillover, if you have glue push out from beneath, it's not a big deal. That can be cleaned up afterwards. Let this glue set for a few seconds, and then you can just basically trim off the squeeze out. It's very, very forgiving. And that is pretty much all you need. So that's adhered already. And glue is pretty much set up, so we're going to trim this excess off here. It's a little overhang there, and that's what we want because we want to trim this flush with our knife here in a few seconds to be flush with the bottom of the part here too. And now this feels pretty good. I don't know if we're going to be able to trim too much off the top. Get a little bit off of there, but now we're going to go and trim the top off. We're just going to get this nice and tight. Let your knife blade travel right along the surface as a guide, and then you'll have a completely matching angle and height on that piece. Really, really simple to do. All right. So now, to clean up that glue, because we've got some squeeze out right here. Again, put your knife blade right on the surface. Let that ride kind of under the glue and get it right up to that piece of plastic, but not under the plastic. You don't want to cut under the plastic because then you might end up popping that piece off, right? That's not what you want to do. Do the same thing on the side here. Let your knife run down the side of that plastic strip. Just use it as a guide. And then all that glue will pop off right on your knife. And then, as you can see, you will have a completely clean edge right there. Super clean. Done data. Easy peasy. All right. Do the same thing for the other side because there's not a ton of squeeze out here. And you can do this for super glue. You can do this for Tamiya extra thin. Any glue that essentially will, in modeling, that will squeeze out from underneath of a piece or something. You can do that as well. So right here, I'm just trimming up this bottom, this back edge to be flush with the piece. And we're just going to scrape that down, make that nice and even. Perfect. And now the glue actually acts as a filler in the seams and stuff too. So that's why I kind of like using super glue. It's not universal. You can't use it in every situation, but in these types of instances, I just find it an absolute, just perfect adhesive to use in these types of situations. I just love it. Okay, so now that we've got the first piece glued on here, now we're going to need the angled piece right there that we pre-cut. And let's see, let's get this kind of mocked up to where we want it here. We want it kind of like a millimeter or so away from this big white plate here. And let's focus, camera. Okay, so we want this about a millimeter away from that piece, right? And we want it to be parallel with this piece here. So I'm just trying to eyeball that and trying to line that up to where when I glue this down, I know exactly where this thing needs to go. Okay, so let's get some glue on the actual piece. Just a little drop and then kind of spread it around. And if you need more, then you can apply more. But usually a drop of super glue on a piece this size will be perfectly, enough. All right, so visor down. Let's get in close to this guy and let's see what we're doing here. The lineup is absolutely crucial with something like this. And that looks pretty good. Yep, good. All right, I'm happy with that. Happy with that. If in the event that it's not perfectly 1 millimeter in this gap, you can trim back a little bit on the piece here to make it 1 millimeter, right? You can use like a 1 millimeter chisel, you can trim it off with your hobby knife, something like that. The thing that you want to be concerned with most is the alignment with the corresponding piece, where this top piece matches up with the side piece. That is the most crucial thing, because if these are offset in any way, then it won't look like one solid strap. It'll look like two pieces glued together. Then you're screwed. Then you have to pop this off, recut this piece, and do it again. Total pain in the butt. So that's where the alignment comes into play. That's why it is so crucial, right? All right, so we've got this. Alignment's good. Let's check that width, because hopefully that's about 1 millimeter. Yeah, it's a little over. It's probably 1.2 millimeters in there. I'm not going to worry about it at this point, because if you compare those two widths right there between the small parts and these big parts, the human eye will never be able to tell the difference, especially once all this is beveled, once it's painted and all that, you won't notice it. And plus, this is on the back. Nobody looks at the back, right? Come on. So we need to trim this piece back here now and just get the most of it off with the nippers, and then we will do our trimming technique here and cut this piece flush with the other one, and then that will seamlessly become one strap of a piece. And again, let your knife ride on the surface of the piece that you're trimming to. Use it as a guide. You'll get a nice perfect angle on the piece that you're trimming, and then those two pieces will be perfectly aligned and flush with one another. Nice. All right. And there we go. That looks really quite nice. Let's do a time check. Whoa, 11:55. Really? Has it been 2 hours? That's nuts, man. Nuts. All right. So let's extend this one side line up the side here to the middle of that this plate. Let's get a piece of Dymo tape out here. And let's see, that's going to be a little too much there, so we're going to bring this up just like that, make that parallel. Okay. Looks good. Okay. Just trying to align these pieces up here. Okay, that looks like it's aligned properly. Ah, Enrico, great question, buddy. Okay, that's a great question. So Enrico is asking, will you need to fill the little seam between the two plot plate pieces with something like putty or primer? I always do that just in case to avoid having the seam show, but I'm never sure it would. That's an excellent question. Okay, let me show you real quick, Enrico, the seam on this thing, because it's honestly non-existent. And I'll show you why. So, oh, look at that. You can see the slight shadow right there, that slight highlight. That means that these two pieces are not flush. So I'm going to go back and have to fix that right there. Hopefully you guys can see that. So, man, importance of super zoom, man. But otherwise, this whole thing is completely flush, right? So you can see the seam, right? But using super glue, it actually acts as a filler itself, to where, say, Tamiya Extra Thin or something like that would simply soften and bind the plastic together. What super glue does is it actually adheres the plastic to whatever surface that you're gluing it to, but then as the squeeze out occurs, it actually fills in any crevices or negative space areas that there are. So even though this looks like there's a seam there, if you do a fingernail test on this, there's zero seam in there, right? Same thing with filling up a little notch here. Right there, you can see that the notch, this is completely filled over, completely smooth. You can do a fingernail test on it. This is just completely filled, like there's nothing there, right? But I just filled this with a little Loctite Ultra Liquid Control. That's my particular super glue of choice. Just put a drop on there, trimmed it flush, sanded it smooth, and now this is completely filled in. the benefits of super glue is that it's an adhesive, so it's not going to pop out or dissolve with any sort of chemical that you may throw at it. Like if you give your parts an alcohol bath beforehand to get any contaminants, grease, oil, stuff like that off, like I do, you don't have to worry about this super glue like you would have to worry with, like, say, Tamiya white putty or something like that that's solvent based, because that alcohol will start to eat away at that, and then you'll have to refill that in, and that just kind of defeats the purpose of an alcohol bath. But if you use super glue, it's completely resistant to those types of things. It fills in nicely. It's almost the density of the plastic, which is super nice. And it's not as brittle as some of the other pieces, because, let's see, right here, look at this, right there. That is a notch that I filled. And then, look at this. This is like a line right here. Here's a part of the notch on this side, here's a part on this corner, and then here's the big part over here. You can scribe through that completely cleanly, and it'll still hold up. If you try to do this type of thing with putty, that would pop right out, and you'd be completely shit out of luck. So that's why I say use super glue in those types of situations, because it just is a perfect type of material to fill in those little gaps and stuff like that. So yeah, strongly recommended. If you have little, gaps or something like that, even seams, use a little bit of super glue in there. It'll make them disappear. So there you go. Let's see. Bailey says cement would bond them nicely too. Yeah, very true. Very true. Enrico says, but if you just sand it, would it disappear completely? No. Well, I mean, you would still be able to see it simply because the super glue is transparent, but once you sand it down smooth, you'll never know that it's there once you prime over it. It'll just be completely like one piece. Bailey says, yes, CA glue fills the gap and becomes as dense as the plastic. Yeah. Freddie Torres, to me, a liquid surface primer would fill the gap as well. To some extent, it may contract a bit, so it may show that seam a little bit. So you do have to be careful. Enrico says, cool, so you just have to make sure you applied enough glue. Yeah, and it's just, enough to kind of, a little drop on top. It's very minimal, right? So, Bailey, because it's just their basic putty diluted. Okay, yeah. Enrico, yeah, I always apply some Mr. Surfacer onto it with a toothpick. So yeah, CA glue over putty for this kind of work. Yeah, absolutely. Ito Beltrami over there on Facebook, he says, ciao. What's up, Ito? Good to have you watching, sir. Awesome, thank you. But yeah, man, super glue is like a wonder product for this type of thing. So when you're working small, like I show you guys, hopefully how to do, yeah, you need resilient products, a little bit outside of what normal or basic modeling, would require, right? So keep those things in mind. Food for thought. All right, let's get this last surface line applied to this particular piece. And again, look at this. We're scribing right through that filled in notch, that super glue that we filled in with that in that pre-molded notch that Bandai did. And man, it just scribes perfectly, just like the plastic. So we'll peel that off, throw that away, and let's check our work. Yeah, man, again, and I can't express enough how resilient this stuff is. So right here. Let's get this tilted up at a different angle so you can see it a little bit better. So right there, again, there's just that little bitty corner right there that's just sticking there. That just, you cannot, it will not pop off, right? And this little corner on this side of the line, and then the big rest of the notch on the other side of the line. And you can just see how resilient that that super glue is. It's just super, super durable. So for filling these little gaps and things, like especially pre-molded notches that you want to get rid of, there's no better material, right? So, and for those of you playing at home, don't worry about the glue outline here. That'll be taken care of when we go to finish sand the piece. I leave the piece being a mess, and then come back and finish sand around it and make it baby butt smooth. So not to worry one little bit about that. So we're going to take care of that in later steps, right? So very cool. All right, so 12:06. Let's start to wrap this one up a bit. I'll continue work on this on Wednesday, right? I'll show you how to do the surface border and everything like that, how to bevel again some of these pieces. We'll get this sewing pin detail applied in there as well. I'll show you how to do that because that's really simple and it's insanely cheap too, you guys. Sewing pins, you can get like 500 of them for $2 or $3, and they come in different sizes too. So it's a perfect metal little detail, right? So it's either you spend $5 for 10 of those little, those little ball bearing kind of ball things, or you spend $2 for about 200 or 300, or 500 or whatever the number is for these little guys. I mean, if it doesn't make dollars, it don't make sense, right? So food for thought. All right, let's switch back to camera 1 here. Boom, here we go. So let's wrap this up here. Let's get it caught up one last time. And let's see, Enrico says, I've had so much trouble using putty for this stuff before. Yeah, and and like I said, putty will just pop out, or you can sand it too much and it will leave a dip where that seam is, or just dissolve. Or it will possibly contract too when it cures, especially if it's solvent based. It will contract down. It will pull onto the surface more, much like solvent based primer and paint. That's why they're able to capture detail so well, right? So this lamp is in the way. Get out of the way. Anyway, all right, so let's wrap this up here, you guys. We had a pretty good stream tonight. Great conversation. We talked about a bunch of different things. Got a bunch of work done here on this back skirt. We'll finish that up on Wednesday. Maybe start to get some work done on the side skirts. I actually started that over the weekend, so we'll maybe finish that up on Wednesday. And man, you guys, after that, I think most of the body is done. I think all we have left to do is the shield and the backpack. So it's looking pretty good. Look at that guy. It's not bad. It's not a bad look. So he's getting there. He's getting there, right? So I'm happy with it. All right, you guys. So new type, if you want to grab one of these new type shirts, you can definitely do that on the Chata Mecha store. Hit up chatamecha.com, hit the store button along the top, and then you will be transported to the store where you'll find all these shirts, hats, bags, and in the future pillows. If you want to pick up this amazing book, this is awesome, the best one by far out of the series, Nothing But Mech 4. You can do so on the Amazon link below on YouTube, or that way, look, I got it right again, on Facebook in the description there. I've already put a ton of resourced products into those onto that Amazon page. All the tools, a ton of books, the streaming gear, all that stuff that you might want, and the store button complete with teleporters into the magical world of Gunpla. I like that. That's pretty cool. So hit up the Amazon link. Everything that you buy on there, I get a little commission off of through Amazon Associates. It does help out the stream. Like I said, with the money that I was able to kind of make from that, I bought a new camera mount, which works really well, rather than having a big tripod here. So that's because of you guys, man. That's awesome, right? Yeah, it does help the stream improve, and it's just a really cool thing, right? Really cool thing. So, like I said, all the tools, the books, camera gear, streaming gear, all that stuff is already sourced for you. Go have a look at that. That's always good stuff. Make sure you donate to the Gunpla Talk fundraiser and giveaway. We're going to be giving away a perfect grade Ashtray red frame. We're going to be giving away 6 of those awesome paint pusher Mr. Win I'm on little resin busts that he's sending me. And we're also hopefully going to have some stuff from our good friend Ace Schultz, Mr. Burkanatir on Facebook. And man, just all around good stuff, right? Good stuff. Make sure you go and donate as much as you can. There's no minimum. There's no maximum either. But if you can't, we understand that. Not everyone is in the position to donate, but if you could give us a share, that would be really amazing too, right? So, and while you're at it, share the stream with your friends. If they don't know about it, they should know about it. And if you make something cool and you use some of the stuff that you might have learned here on the stream, man, tag me in the photo. I want to see. I want to see what you did. Hell yeah. So, all right, boys and girls, until Wednesday, we're getting the hell out of here because Monday sucks, right? Am I the only one that thinks that? Hope not. Anyway, good night. We'll see you Monday. Have an awesome time. See you guys.